Okay, so today I'm going to be brewing a barrel-aged Russian Imperial Stout. This is going to be a pretty big beer, biggest beer I've brewed to date, biggest on this new system that I've been on for the last 10 batches. I just acquired a 5-gallon bourbon barrel from a distillery in Maryland. A guy on a group on Facebook had gotten a hold of 10 of these, and I was able to get one pretty cheap. So it's one-time use. It's only been used once. I'll show that later in the video. But I figured this would be a good video because I haven't really found much on barrel aging homebrew on YouTube. There's a lot on the forums, a lot of questions about it, so I figured I'd do it myself, do a little experiment, see how it goes, and then if anyone has any questions, I can always help you out with what I did. So let me show you the recipe first. So here is the recipe for the barrel-aged Russian Imperial Stout. As you can see, it's a lot of grain. So we're basically got with the Maris Otter as our base, flaked oats as our body, chocolate malt, roasted barley, Carafatu, Crystal 80, and Crystal 120. I actually found this recipe online. I was trying to find something neutral. I didn't want anything that was going to be too overpowering of the bourbon and the oak, but I also didn't want anything that was going to be so basic that the oak and the bourbon overpowered. So I was looking for something with some complexity, but not overly complex. I was originally thinking maybe chocolate or coffee, but I didn't want to add too much to it. As far as the hops go, I wanted some neutral stuff. I do want a little bit of hop flavor. Obviously this bad boy's getting aged for a while, so I don't think much of this is going to make it through, but it'll at least give us some bitterness to account for the 1.114 gravity we're shooting for. So big thing to remember when you're doing big beers like this is always set your efficiency low. My last batch of a red IPA I did actually hit 85% efficiency, so I lowered this down to 65% because bigger batches usually result in less efficiency. Alright, so with this we're going to plan to mash in at 156, yep, right there, 156. I set the water a little higher than usual, 1.6 quarts to pounds of grain. So mash in with 10 gallons of water, which is a lot of water. It's going to definitely be pushing the limit on my system. I have a 15-gallon kettle, and then we're only fly sparging with about a little under a gallon of water. So, all right, let me show you guys what the barrel looks like. All right, so here is the barrel that I got. I actually don't know the distillery. There's some writing on the side. See right there. But I actually don't know the distillery. I will ask the guy that I bought it off of. Inside, this was actually pretty interesting. When I got it, there's actually some oak spirals in it. So as you can see, it actually came with spirals. It's pretty nicely charred. Still some bourbon in there. But I'm kind of curious how this is going to turn out with the spirals, because it's a lot of surface area for a beer that's going to be sitting in there for up to 6 months. My plan for this beer is to actually age this today. This weekend it is daylight saving time. It's middle of March right now. Today's Saturday, so at 2 o'clock tomorrow morning, the clocks are going to go forward. So what I was thinking would be pretty cool is to age it from daylight savings time to daylight savings time. So go from spring to fall, which would be pretty cool. So it's about 6 months. I'm going to attempt it. We're going to see kind of how the bourbon tastes throughout, and I'll update you guys on that. But that's what the plan is, and we'll see kind of how it goes. But those spirals, I'm kind of curious how they're going to turn out with the increased surface area. So we'll see. All right, so I just mashed in. As you can see, it's a 15-gallon kettle. And we're coming right up to our limit. We probably have about 2-3 gallons left of room. I'm right at my Sparge arm. So, color's great, nice brown bubbles. It's already a nice black wort. It's only been in there for about 5 minutes. I'll check the pH in a minute. But so far so good. Okay, so we have now begun sparging after about a 45-minute mash. One thing I noticed with this mash was, obviously, since there was so much sugar, it was a very, very sticky, very thick mash. You can definitely expect stuck Sparges with this. It's just the nature of a beer with the gravity that we're shooting for. So, of course, we had a few problems. The propane I had ran out while I was heating my hot liquor tank. So we did not run the recirculation through the hot liquor tank like I normally do. We actually just did a direct heat and just had the burner running. So it actually worked pretty well. We still maintained in the medium 150s. My thermometers were a little uncalibrated today, so they were actually reading higher than what it was. So I think we were coming in about 152. So either way, not bad. We still get what we need out of it. So now we are sparging. It's actually a little quick for what I like. I'm going to lower the knob a little bit. Yeah, it's definitely sparging a little quicker than I want it to. That's a little better. So we'll do this for about 45 minutes, try to get as much sugar as we can out. It's only about a gallon Sparge water, fly Sparge water, so it's a very short fly Sparge because I did up the limit, so it will definitely be short on the fly Sparge. So I'll wait until the grain bed starts to settle, and we are about an inch away from that, and then I will do the 1 gallon Sparge and then see what we get. All right. So before I even Sparge, I just ran a little bit of water on top because the bed got a little dry. But before I even Sparge, I checked my gravity, which I think Beersmith has my pre-boil gravity at 1.090. I was coming out at about 1.070. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm supposed to collect 7.67 gallons. I'm coming in right now almost to 7. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend my boil. I'm supposed to do a 90-minute boil. I think I'm going to go for a 120-minute, 2-hour boil and collect about 8.5 gallons because I want to try to get this gravity up as close to the desired gravity as possible. I do have some dried malt extract, but I'd like to use the sugar that's actually in the mash, and I usually leave about 20 gravity points behind. So we're going to do that and up the boil and see what we do with that. So again, anytime you do a big beer, be ready to make modifications because your efficiency definitely will go low and you will need to do things like this. Okay, so we are done brewing now. We were transferring into our carboy. Took a gravity reading. It came out to 1.104 instead of 1.114, so we missed it by 10 points, but not too bad. There's something we can do about that later. I'll talk about that later in the video, but basically what I'm doing now is just to get some increased aeration. What I did was I went back and forth between 2 buckets, and I just poured it back and forth about 10 times to get as much aeration as possible, because these big beers, you want a lot of oxygen. I don't currently have an oxygen soon, so this is my best method. Normally what I do is I just kind of funnel it like I'm doing here, but straight out of the kettle. But now instead, since I went back and forth between the 2 buckets, this kind of gives you extra aeration. So you can see it's pretty dark. I actually pitched the yeast in while this was going, so the yeast is already in there. I got my sample on the side and everything, so I can test it out one more time. But it smells great. You can see it definitely got aerated. That's about 6 inches worth of foam right there, so definitely got some oxygen, that's for sure. So we will see what this is going to look like in a couple hours, see if we can get a shortened lag time. Big beers like this, you can expect about a 24-hour lag, so we'll see what we get. Alright, I'll recap the video once I'm done and clean everything up, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so just finished the cleanup. That was a pain. So just to recap, basically today a couple things went wrong, but not to the point where the beer is going to be bad. My hot liquor tank didn't heat up to the temperature to actually run the recirculation, so what I had to do was basically run a direct fire recirculation under my mash tun. The propane tank was running out, so it never got to heat, so I ran out, got propane, and kept the heat under the mash tun. It worked. It stayed in the mid 150s, so that worked out. Obviously the extraction of the sugars was not up to par, which we assume with big beers that that's going to happen. So obviously I did the 8.5 gallon pre-boil volume. That came out pretty well. I did a 2-hour boil, which was long, but it helped because I got time to clean. 2-hour boil really helped. It took out a lot of the water. Obviously brought it down to 5.5, a little over 5.5 gallons. I was trying to get it down to 5.25. I think if I would have boiled it for maybe another half hour, I would have hit all my numbers, because as I said previously, I missed the original gravity by about 10 points. So I think if I would have boiled it for maybe another 20 minutes, I would have probably boiled off that extra a little bit, and I probably would have hit my gravity exactly. So I'm not too upset about that. Basically what I'm actually going to do with that is, a lot of times these big beers, the yeast won't attenuate down. So what I'm going to do is, if it doesn't attenuate, I'm going to make enough of a simple sugar solution. I'm going to boil it up. I'm going to make enough to raise it 10 points, and then that'll kind of kickstart the yeast again. So we'll try that, see if it works, if I need it. If not, no big deal. It should still come out to about, 10%. I was shooting for 11, so we'll see how it works. So I'm going to let it ferment in the mid-60s. I'm going to try to keep it really controlled. The big beers, one thing you got to watch out for is if you ferment too hot and the yeast go crazy, you're going to get solventy alcohol rather than that pleasant, not knowing it's 11% alcohol, which is what I want, because we're already going to have the bourbon in there, which is going to be pretty fresh since the barrel's still wet. So I don't really want it to be too brutal on the palate with the alcohol, so I'm going to keep it at might even keep it about 65. We'll see how that goes. I'm not in a rush here. Big thing with the big beers is I don't rush them. So I'll keep it at that, and then about 2 to 3 weeks I'm going to put it right into the barrel. I'll have an update. I'll post that on the YouTube channel as soon as I get that in. What I'm going to do in the meantime with the barrel, I'm going to do a little research. I don't want to let it dry out or let the wood shrink, so I may fill it with some water. I'm kind of hesitant because I don't want to take away any of the flavor that's in there. But at the same time, there is the spirals, and there is some leftover bourbon, so who knows how much I'll actually be taking out. So 2 to 3 weeks is a long time to let a barrel sit dry, and it's already been sitting dry for I think a week to 2 weeks at the distillery. Take it out, so I'm going to do a little research, see what we can do with that. I don't want it to shrink. I don't want to pour my beer in and then it come pouring out the sides. So we'll see what we're going to do with that. I'll post that in the update video when I pour into the barrel. And then there will be a third update video, which will be October. You guys will see that. And that'll basically be step by step. I'll test it probably 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 15 weeks, I don't know, 25 weeks. I'll just test it until it's ready, and then I'll put all the test trials in with the final, and I'll post a tasting video and everything probably in October, November, and we'll see how it goes. So this is the part 1. Part 2 will be posted in about 2 to 3 weeks, and then part 3 will be October. Any questions, feel free to ask. You can post below or email me. Subscribe so that you can see the new videos when they come out, and like the video. Alright guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.